Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be demoing how to create a capital project within the PPM subledger within Oracle. I've started today on the home screen within Oracle. Please note that this home screen will look a little bit different depending on what each individual user is set up with access to. Also, I am in a test environment. So this is going to look a little bit different from what the live version will look like when users are actually in the system itself. But the functionality and navigation that we'll be showing will be pretty much the same in the live version. So in the home screen here, most of the Oracle navigation is driven by these tiles. For today's purposes, we're going to be focusing on just this tile right here, Project Financial Management. Within this tile, we'll be able to set up the project header, which will have information like the project title, project start dates, the name of the project manager. This is also where we set up a project budget, our project funding, and we can also attach documents for a new project, like say the signed contract for a new project. So when we click on this tile to navigate into the tool itself, it'll take you to this initial search screen, and you can see the list of projects that I've been creating as I've been working through my different test scenarios. To create a new project, what we're going to do is we're going to click on this plus sign here, and this dialog box appears. Anywhere you see a field with an asterisk is a required field that will need to be filled out by each user. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to select what's called a source template. And when I click on this drop-down menu, you're going to see a lot of different options that show up in here for all of the templates that are available in PPM. So this includes grants templates. But for our purposes for this demo, we're going to be focusing on just these two, which are the templates that have been created for capital projects specifically. And for I'm going to select this one because I'm going to be creating a project that only has one fund source associated with it. So I select that. The dialog box updates with the required fields. The next thing I'm going to do is give this project a name, which we're going to call it the BDR demo project. And then the next field here is the project start date. This is a required field. It will auto-populate with today's date. But if that needs to be changed, we can click on this little calendar icon and select something different if needed. We do always leave the project finish date empty, it's not a required field. And if it's left empty, what the system will do is it'll automatically assign a date, but it just is 50 years in the future. And that can be changed at any date by users throughout the project lifecycle if needed. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select an organization value, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to search by selecting, there we go, came up with this. So this is the organization code. This is the same thing as the financial unit that you would see in the chart of accounts or in the general ledger COA structure. The next thing I want to do is select a type of capital project. And this is a really important field to fill out because the selection here is what's going to drive two different components. One, how the template is configured. We have slightly different configurations for different types of projects. And it also drives what the approval workflow will do. And so when I click on here, you'll see that there are a number of options. Some of them are related to a specific department or the medical center. Sometimes they're related to a specific or special type of capital project. For our purposes today, though, I'm going to select capital programs. And I'm for project manager, in this field, you can type the person's name in, or you can click on the spyglass here to search. So I'm going to go ahead and search for myself. There I am, and I'm adding myself as the project manager, and now I'm officially the project manager for this project. We also have this other section here for additional information. We have a field here for program. We don't have any departments that are currently using this field, but we wanted to make sure that it was available if it was needed in the future. This field links up to the program field on the chart of accounts. And so this would be a predetermined list of options that people could select from. We also have the option for users to add a site project manager. And this role would most likely be what many people in the departments currently consider to be a project manager. They're going to be the folks that are actually out on the site managing the project operations from day to day. Maybe they're talking to the contractors, that type of thing. So they can add that name here if they would like. I'm going to just click save and continue after leaving that blank. Oh, let's call it 7. Click save and continue. There we go. And so what happens when I click save? The project header information has been created. It automatically is going to take me to this task screen so that I can add my my project funding information. But what I wanted to do first, I'm going to click cancel and I'm going to take you to the project overview screen so that you can see the project header information that's been created. So I have my project name here. I set myself up as the project manager. My project status is active, so this project is ready to go. Once I fill in the project tasks as well as the project budget here in a little bit and assign a funding source to it, this project will be ready to go for project expenditures to start being coded and sent to this project. But I wanted to show you the project header information that's all been filled in here. The next thing I want to do in this process, since we're setting up a brand new project, is to add the documents. So I'm coming up here to this corner here. We were just on the overview screen, and now we're coming over to documents. And this would be, since we're starting the project out right at the get-go, this would be when we would probably add that approval documentation, maybe a signed contract or PDFs of emails that have additional information about the job that we're going to be working. So I clicked this edit button and it brings up this new dialog box, and I'm going to click the plus sign here and it adds this line here. We do have the option to add a couple different types of documentation, but to be honest, most of what our departments are using right now is going to be the file option here. I'm going to select choose file. I'm going to go ahead and attach my slide deck that I have reviewed today. It's now loaded that information into Oracle PPM, and it created a title for the document that's really just based on the file name. I'm going to click Save and Close. And now this document is attached to this project, and we'll follow this project all the way through the project lifecycle. So it'll be, we can pull up this document anytime while the project is active. Even after the project has been capitalized and it's closed, this document will be available for people to come and reference if needed. So we've got a central repository now that can be used by any department with a capital project to store all of their project documentation in one location. All right, so now that I am done with that part of the project, the next thing I want to do is I want to set up my funding source. So to do that, I'm going to come back. I'm going to go back here to, this is called my task panel. And I'm going to come over here to Manage Financial Project Plan. I'm going to click that, and it's brought me back to my task screen here. And this is a really important screen to be to set up correctly right from the get-go. Task is very important because it's going to split out how our expenditures, our project expenditures are split out between what is eligible for capitalization and what is not. And so we've got our first task here for capital. I'm going to go ahead and expand that. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to come up to this plus sign with this arrow right here, and I'm going to click subtask. And then I have to give it a name. And this can really be anything that makes the most sense to the person that is creating this task. But I'm going to, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my fund source. So I clicked on additional information here. I'm going to click, yes, this is capital. Go ahead and look. So I have the option to select from a few options that show up here in this menu. I can click on search to look for a specific fund number. But for today's purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the fund number that I know that I want to use that's showing up there already. And the next thing that's the next step that I want to do, since I know this is for my capital task, so any expenditures that are routed to my capital task are going to be capitalizable. And so I want to make sure that this checkbox is checked. It's set up to do it automatically, but it's a good thing to just double check to make sure that it's there. And I've validated that it is. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for my non-capital task. So subtask, I'm going to give it a name. Not going with anything too original here. Additional information. This is capitalized project. Go ahead and select the fund and click OK. And I can click save and close. And now I've set up my funding source for my project. The last step in setting up just kind of a basic project is to add the project budget. So I'm going to click on the panel here, and I'm going to click on this option for Manage Project Budget. And it's going to take me to this big white empty screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to this corner where we see this plus sign. I'm going to click on the arrow, and I'm going to say I want to create budget lines manually. And the first thing Oracle is going to have me do is put together the budget header information. We always default the budget to version 1 and UCLA Capital Financial Plan. So these are defaulted for us, and these are the options that we want to use every time we create a budget for our project. We have a couple options over here to add notes, to add additional description information, to add attachments. If needed, we can add all of that here. For our purposes today, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click Save and Continue. And then it takes me to this screen. And so now I can set up my, my project budget. We have the option here to set up the project budget either at the project level or at the task level. But because I only have one funding source for my project, I don't need to set my project budget up at the task level. Instead, what I can do is set it at the project level. And so in order to do that, I'm going to highlight the top task here. And then I'm going to come up here to assign. And I'm going to select an option here to assign a resource. So I'm just going to create this and say that this is going to be the construction contract budget. And then I'll enter my amount in here. And we're going to make the budget $500,000. And so I've got my construction contract, my budget amount is $500,000. You'll notice here that the budget is still saying 0. So if I click save, this is now updated to $500,000. However, we're not quite done yet. So I have to, in order to get this budget linked to my, my project officially, I have to click this submit button. So I'm going to click that, and this new dialog box is going to pop up. It's going to say, this is my project name. I've set my budget at $500,000. Because this is the first budget, I don't have any changes that would show up in here. So I can click OK. There we go. And it takes me to this screen. And so now I can see my budget that's been created in here. If I were to go back in here and change the budget for any reason, there would be more lines that would show up above this one. So there'd be version 1, and then there'd be a version 2 and a version 3, however many versions there would be for however many changes to the budget that I had made. What's neat about this this page is that whenever you see these little eyeglass options here, you can click on that, and it should, what it'll do is it'll pull up the information about who submitted it, when it was submitted, and then if it had to go through any sort of approval workflow. Because my budget is under $1 million, it doesn't have to go through any special workflow. So it was auto approved by the system, and it lets you know when that happened, what date and what time. Click done. You also notice it populated it to this page. It's got, Oracle has this neat little dashboard that shows up at the top of the screen that kind of lets you know what's happening with the project. You can click into here during the project lifecycle once expenditures start flowing in here and see how the total expenditures match up against this budget amount, et cetera. So this page can be used for a couple different things. Because we don't have any expenditures flowing into it yet, obviously it just says $500,000 with $0 spent so far. And so we are done adding a budget. And so those are the basic steps that we would want to follow as we set up any new project within the capital projects module within PPM. Thank you very much for joining me today. And I will turn the presentation back to the speakers. Thank you.